Call the City Council Truth and Taxation hearing to order. Welcome, one and all. Thanks for being here with us tonight. There's Mr. Tolbert. So do we start with a roll call, or is this? Okay, well, we will start with a roll call.
Yang. Here. Ballinger.
Here.
Jalali.
Here.
Naker.
Here.
Prince.
Here.
Tolbert. Here. Council President Brenmon.
Here.
7 present, no one absent.
All right, thank you. So tonight we are holding our Truth and Taxation hearing on Tuesday night, which is not our typical meeting time, but with our Thanksgiving schedule and fifth Wednesdays, we ran into a sort of an interesting scheduling conundrum. So we are here today. We pass our city budget tomorrow at our council meeting at 3:30. The Truth and Taxation hearing is a hearing that is required by state statutes. It's an opportunity for people to come and share their thoughts about the city budget based on their property tax estimate that was mailed out last month. In the past several years, I guess now it's been about 4 years ago, people who came to testify at this meeting expressed some frustration because it's so far along in our budget process, and we pass the budget the next day. I think at that time we were passing it that very evening. And so I think the council agreed. It was frustrating to have this meeting so late in the budget process and at a point where it's very hard to change our budget for the upcoming year. So the input we get tonight is really more reflected in what happens in next year. But we did also respond by adding an additional hearing, a council meeting in community, where we come out right after we get the mayor's budget in August and hear from community members with their reflections on the budget at that time and take those early interactions into account when we go through our budget process. So we recognize that this is late in the budget process, but we're really happy to have you here. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Just want to acknowledge that we do have 2 hearings kind of to the same effect, which we encourage folks to come out early and often with their feedback and input on the budget and all other policy elements of the City Council. Today we have a presentation from our Chief Budget Officer, Holly Houston, as well as Budget Manager from the Mayor's Office, Tara Bernack, I believe, that will walk through the budget that was presented to us and the budget process that brought us to today. And then just for a little bit of background, and then we will open it up to public hearing. People will be given 2 minutes to share their perspective with us, so we'll get to those details in a moment. Do want to remind people that one of the largest, and you'll hear this probably from Holly and Tara as well, but one of the largest influences on increases in budgets is evaluation of your homes. And we've heard a lot from people whose taxes went up, but their housing values also went up. And so out in the hall today, we have folks here from Ramsey County who can talk to you more about housing values and assessments and things that you can do to proactively and also reactively if your housing value has gone up significantly. And we also have people here to talk about the state's senior deferral program, where you can defer your property taxes until you no longer live in your home, and that there are folks who here can talk about that as well if it's something you're interested in. So, and you will hear that probably from Ms. Houston as they go through their presentation, but I just do want to mention those resources are currently out in the hall. So if you have questions about either of those topics, there are people out there that are standing by at the ready to answer them. I'm looking at you, Ms. Bernack, and it looks like you are ready to go first, so I will invite you up to the podium.
Thank you, Council President, for the chance to briefly summarize the 2023 budget and to present with Ms. Houston. My name is Tara Bernack, and I am the Budget Manager in the Office of Financial Services. We have a brief agenda tonight that covers the high-level review of the proposed budget, the proposed property taxes, and the impact on a typical home. A new requirement for supplemental budget information, which was included in the mailing that every property owner received. And Ms. Houston will cover the City Council's changes to the proposed budget. I'll kick it off with the total budget for all funds for the city increased by 5.4% over 2022 for a total of about $782 million in 2023. Some highlights of the 2023 budget proposal. When the mayor began his budget process, the city faced a gap between revenues and expenditures of about $35 million. Of that, about $13 million was due to a May court decision on the street maintenance program. A 15.34% property tax increase was part of the solution to this gap. Over half of this increase is related to dealing with the changes in the street maintenance program and the loss of the related assessment revenues. The costs for the program are a total of $15.3 million, with a portion covered by sewer revenue in the proposed budget. The property tax increase equates to about a $23 per month increase on the typical home. In addition, the city's capital budget has two major components: a $24 million new deferred capital maintenance program and continued funding for three major projects: North End Community Center, Fire Station 7, and the Hamlin Midway Library. Some sample fees that property owners will no longer pay are displayed here, with amounts ranging from $70 to $206 per year, depending on the width of the property, the lot, and the type of street the property is on. Of note, these amounts are the 2022 amounts, so if the program had continued into 2023, we would have expected that the bills would have actually gone up, and the prior increases ranged from about 4 to 6%. In addition to the notes on the slide, seal coating changes are shown in these bills to have been spread out over about 8 years.
Ms. Bernack, before you move forward, I'm going to ask two things. One is, it looks like someone adjusted the microphone, so one is pointing up a little bit. If you could pull it down, I think we would hear you better. And second of all, if we could put that slide back up. The council did request that this information be included, especially in light of the property tax increases. And as we just heard Ms. Bernack say, half of the levy increase for the city is a result of a change of our street maintenance assessments. And so the amount that you see listed here for a 40, 60, or 80-foot residential lot, or a 40-foot, as an example, arterial lot, are there, as Ms. Bernack said, will no longer be billed. And sometimes we heard people asking, why do we get a separate bill when we're already paying taxes? And it was determined at one point to be a fee. The court said, no, it's a tax, and so it went back to go on our regular property tax bills. But in doing so, churches and nonprofit organizations, schools, colleges that used to participate no longer pay. So, and I think the idea was to get everybody in on the street maintenance costs, and that didn't hold up in court. So whatever bill you have in front of you, you can deduct this number, either $103, $155, $206, because you will not be getting that bill in 2023, which you have in the past. That is what Ms. Bernack said, but I'm just saying it again because it bears underscoring. It is a significant difference in our bills to ourselves, and also previously it was billed based on footage. Now it will be a percentage of your property tax bill. So areas where values are higher pay more, areas where values are lower pay less. And it used to just be a flat rate. So I think it's worth noting, but if it's almost like a coupon. Look at your property tax and you can deduct this amount of money based on what is your front foot residential. I'm an arterial, so it looks like mine isn't quite as big of a deduction as who has an 80-foot residential lot? I do not know, but $100 to $155 is a general deduction that you could remove from your property tax statement. Thanks.
Thank you, Council President. Moving on, the property tax levy is distributed across a number of city funds: the general fund, the debt service fund, the library agency, and the Port Authority. So that the total levy includes each of those components. Again, the typical home would see an increase in total of fees and property tax of about $243 under the proposed budget. In the increase of $271 in the property tax bill is partially offset by the $103 reduction related to the change in the street maintenance program, as the council president mentioned before. Also of note is the 16% increase in the value of the median value home compared to 2022. This value increase is important to note because it is one of the major drivers of the property tax bill and increases to the property tax bill. In addition, if market values of other properties change, the tax bill is also impacted. In addition, legislative changes may impact the property tax bill. And finally, the local taxing jurisdictions' levy changes, including that of the city, influence the bill. Of note, the city's share of the total property tax bill is around 30%. There are several state programs to help offset the property tax increases, including the Homeowner Refund Program and the Senior Deferral Program. Information and handouts are available in the room and to be able to help understand more details of those programs. Now I'll turn it over to Ms. Houston.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council President Brenmone and council members. I'm happy to be here tonight to discuss the City Council's budget process and the council changes that we've identified over the last 4 months through the work we've done. I'd just like to thank Council President Brenmone for her leadership and Director Barnack for all ONS's diligent work to give us accurate information in a timely fashion. The City Council begins working on the up-and-coming year budget priorities after we adopt this year's budget and in the spring. And so the process begins early, and we encourage you to get involved early. Last year, the council identified 6 priorities: ensuring equitable and responsible use of city resources, improving neighborhood safety and eliminating gun violence, supporting economic growth and development, expanding and preserving affordable housing, integrating climate action, resilience strategies, and providing excellence in city and constituent services. Over the course of the last several months, the council has gathered valuable feedback from city departments as well as from community members. And through their hard work and determination, the council has been able to make several changes to the initial budget proposal. The budget reflects their commitment to being fiscally responsible, incorporating community feedback, and providing superior services. There was over $1.6 million of reductions that the City Council will be making, a $1.1 million reduction in property taxes. In addition, there's investments in library safety, reparations, staff, which was budget neutral. It was not an addition. 500 free swimming lessons, investments in anti-theft street lighting initiatives, vegetation management, and bike and pedestrian improvements. Is there any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Houston.
We also wanted to cover a notable change in the truth in taxation mailing. For the 2023 budget, state law requires inclusion of information on the city's budget with the parcel-specific notices mailed by the county to property owners. The format is fixed. It does not allow for notes, and it must follow a set of expenditure and revenue groupings set by the state statute and also used by the state auditor. This is the expenditure view displayed in the 2023 notice. The major increase in these categories is largely driven by the city's funding from the American Rescue Plan. In particular, the 546% increase in economic development and housing includes about $53 million in projects in this area. Without the ARP funding, the total increase in this report would display about 1% increase overall for all the areas. And the increases across many of the areas would turn into decreases or would be much smaller increases. For example, the increase in economic development and housing would have been less than 4%. The revenue side of the report displays a short list of categories as defined in statute. We also wanted to direct people to the city's website for the budget book, the interactive budget portal, and the City Council's budget process information.
Great, thank you. And that is available online, that is attached to the meeting notice. And it looks like there's also some handouts that are on this side table that people have, looks like, discovered on this side of the room. So if you'd like to look that up later, that's available. Are there questions for staff at all? Great. Thank you. I guess I would just like to say again, and this is at the risk of repeating what Ms. Baranock said, but the council works diligently on the budget to find ways to reduce the overall levy. We've come with a levy reduction of close to 1%, about 0.75%, over $1 million in reductions. And in addition to finding ways to use one-time money to fund ongoing or one-time expenditures. So those are two different things, and that was a list that was presented to us. So I'm looking to my colleagues. I think what we'd like to do is open the, Ms. Prince.
I just wanted to acknowledge for people who are here tonight that through inadvertence, we ended up scheduling our Truth and Taxation hearing at the same time as the school district. And we're sorry that happened because we know that for the public to come down and be able to talk to each of the taxing jurisdictions is really valuable. So we appreciate that you're here tonight and hope that you'll share your comments with the school district by email or other ways.
Absolutely. Encourage anybody who's here to contact their county commissioners or school board members anytime, electronically or by phone. Public hearings is just one way to connect with your elected officials. So that was, as I mentioned at the onset of the meeting, we struggled with Thanksgiving scheduling and trying to make sure that this was ahead of our budget as opposed to the same night as. So appreciate those comments as well. All right, so council members may have comments at the end of our hearing, but for now, I think that we should open it up to Truth and Taxation. Just the parameters for testifying, if people could come up. You have 2 minutes. We'll run a timer. There's one that you can see while you're standing at the microphones, but when you have about 10 seconds, I'll hold up my hand because sometimes you lose track of time when you're in your moment. But I'll hold up my hand when you have about 10 seconds, and then please wrap up. We want to be respectful of people who speak last tonight as much as people who speak first. So help us help you and help the group by keeping your comments to 2 minutes or less. When you're done, if you could indicate your name and what neighborhood you live in, we'd appreciate that. Be sure to sign in at one of the clipboards on either side of the podium with your full address. This is part of the public record, so we need you to do that so we can follow up as necessary and also to keep track of your comments for future reference. So with that, if you would like to share your thoughts, please come on up. I think what we'll do is we'll hear from a few, maybe start with like 5 people. I know we have one person who's on the phone, and we'll go to the phone. And maybe could we start, why don't we start with this fellow with the dog?
The gentleman with the dog, go ahead.
I know.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and council members. My name is Brian Berkson. I live at 2047 Dayton. I love my city and my neighborhood, and we're blessed to have a home that we bought because it was affordable. Our market value increased since we purchased a home about 6 years ago, 62%, with $60,000 this year alone. Our city portion of our property taxes is going up 64.1%. I live on a fixed income, and because of that, my family budget, because of these increases, is going to be in a deficit. You know, having been in government and having lobbied government my entire life, even as a legislator, it's hard to understand the property tax system, and I'm sure you're pretty well aware of that, especially for the layman. And I believe the system's broken, and it's a 64% increase just isn't fair. The woman that spoke first said that the market value may be driving the increases, but so is spending. I don't qualify for the senior discount, not quite yet, and the rebate is a one-time thing. And if our market value continues to go up because it seems like we're about 2 years behind comparable homes in our neighborhood, our affordable home is going to no longer be affordable. I just want to thank you for your time. I know it's hard to be an elected official, but your decisions have impact on people like me. And I have 2 kids that we have in school, and my one kid is 10 years old, and he wanted to play the tuba. Good Lord, tubas are expensive. And so all of this, all of these increases really have an impact on my family. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And thanks for signing in.
I guess
Welcome.
it's my turn, right?
Welcome.
Hi. My name is Catherine Bickeri. I reside at 257 Cottage Avenue West in the North End neighborhood, not a high buck neighborhood at all. Working, low-income neighborhood. Okay, I'm here basically in protest of these property taxes. I purchased my home in 2015 after a really, really hard battle to come back to home ownership after I lost my husband and then the housing crash that we went through before COVID. What was it, 90s? I can't even remember. And thank you. Lost it all. Lost everything. Worked my tail off to get back into a place where I could buy. Bought this home in 2015. Ever since I bought this home, property taxes have gone up, gone up, gone up, gone up. I am getting to the point where I can't afford to keep this home anymore. Not only does it house me, but it houses my kids and my grandkids. Okay? The economy sucks. Sorry, please forgive my language. I don't know how else to put it. But I'm doing my best. I work for the school district, okay, so I know what's going on. But the proposed increase for my home this year with no improvements is 24.4%. And I've done nothing to it. It was built in 1910. It's an old house. The previous increase over the last 4 years totaled is 66%. In 4 years, that's an average of 16.5% a year. My market value has gone from 147 4 years ago to now all of a sudden I'm at 251. In 1 year, it went up $47,000. You got to be kidding me. It did not go up $47,000. I realize the market says it did, but it didn't. Yes, am I done? My meetings, okay. Well, there you go. That's my complaint. I don't know what to say, but I think this is nuts, the amount of money that you're getting, and I get nothing from it. Sorry.
Thank you for coming in, and I do want to remind people, even mentioned this earlier, but if you have things...
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well.
That's okay, one moment. If you have comments that you're not able to get to, you can still submit them to us electronically as well, so if you weren't fully done with what you were trying to say, but I really appreciate your comments. Thank you for coming down here. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Gale Rohde. I live in Ward 1, Precinct 5. After attending the Ramsey County Truth and Taxation hearing virtually last year and listening to the video this year, I realized that I'm afraid that the dramatic rate rises in property tax are threatening the things I most want for my city. If you haven't listened to this year's hearing that was held by Ramsey County, I encourage you to do so before making a final decision on our rates. I believe we're in a crisis situation with our property taxes. Inflation is so up dramatically. Assessments that were once shared with non-taxable buildings are now a part of our rising taxes. A number of people have been saying they can no longer live in St. Paul. Many people who are renting out property are now limited to 3% rent increases. I wonder where people who can't afford their homes will move to. I wonder whether the owners of smaller rental properties will have to unload them. In the past 2 or more years, I and many of my friends have been getting besieged with phone calls and mailing things offering to purchase our homes for cash. And I'm concerned whether more and more of our St. Paul homes will be owned by investors instead of the people who live there. So that's why I'm asking you to give serious attention both to short-term and long-term, the issues of property tax and affordable housing, which it looks like you're trying to address, and work cooperatively with the county and schools to strategize about how to make the property tax system work, and with the legislature to see if there are some of the needs we have that can be filled other ways. Is that a warning or stop now?
Yeah, you have about 5 seconds.
Oh, 5 seconds. Okay. So our projected state surplus is $17.6 billion, and I just wonder if there's anything that you can get the legislature to cover that isn't rightly covered by property tax.
Thank you, and thanks for bringing up that important point.
Okay.
17.6 billion is stunning.
I am really I'm hard of hearing, and I'm very much having trouble, but I'm using this, so if you could speak slower.
Okay.
And I'm using this thing to report to my,
Okay, do you want to sign in?
I said it.
Great. All right.
Is your water bottle?
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Joe Jansen. I live in Highland Park neighborhood. I also have a property in the Summit Hill neighborhood. I came down here to talk about the property in the Summit Hill neighborhood, but after hearing the presentation, I'd like to question the street maintenance business, where it's going from a flat fee to now a percentage of the value of your home, and I don't understand how somebody with a higher value home, are they getting more services on their street? I don't think so. They're getting it's plowed, street swept, the same. So I don't think that's a fair. I'm questioning that decision and the fairness of that change.
Sir, and if I wasn't clear, we agree. We tried to spread it out across all of the properties in the city. The court decided that that wasn't the way to do it, and they're the ones who remanded it back to the property taxes. We agree with you.
But it can't be listed as just a flat fee on the property tax?
No. We can get into that, but
Anyway,
but we do agree.
Talking about the rental property, I've got a statement here that came just not that long ago at a 17.2% increase in my tax bill, and I'm capped at 3% that I can raise my rates, and I don't know how, with the increase of energy expenses and utilities and maintenance expenses, how am I supposed to run a business in a rental property world with these kind of rules? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Hear me? Council President, council members, my name is Colin Beery. I handle government affairs for the Sheet Metal Workers Local 10. I'm in the unfortunate position today to testify with concerns about the proposed 0.5 FTE sheet metal inspector in the mayor's 2023 budget proposal. We all understand that there is a backlog of inspections within the city and that the backlog directly correlates to the lack of staff available to perform the work. To be clear, a half-time employee aren't something that is common in our industry. From our perspective, the current backlog and projections for the future work more than justify the full-time position. We express concern that a 20-hour work week is in this industry quickly morphs into a 30, 40, or more hours a week. Wanted the budget proposal to be transparent about that. We express concerns that the bargaining union isn't set to have 0.5 FTEs as part of it. We express concerns that the position would be seen as a seasonal or temporary position, making it extremely difficult to hire. We also express concerns over what would this position look like in 2024. You see where we're going. We expressed a great deal of concern about this position. If you're not able to find the room in the budget, we acknowledge we have started to see that the funding for a 0.5 FTE inspector may move forward in this budget, but we want to be clear that Local 10 will be keeping a very close eye on this position with the expectation that it grow into a full-time position in 2024. If it does not, we will be back and we will be very aggressive in pushing for full-time employment in these positions. We are disappointed in the mayor's staff and department staff who have not been incredibly responsive to our concerns. Also, the mayor's department. In closing, we appreciate each of the council members' time. Your doors have been open, and we have been willing to hear your concern or hear our concerns. If you are not able to, we ask that you strongly commit to a fully funded FTE in 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and be sure to sign in. And before we go to the next testifier, we have one person who is calling in, and I want to go to that caller so that our staff member doesn't have to sit with them on hold tonight. So I'm going to just quick switch to Ms. Tripp and see if we can get our one caller who's here to testify to go to slip in here.
Thank you, Council President Brimmoen and Council. We do have one testifier registered for today's hearing. We have a Mr. John Mazzies. Mr. Mazzi, you will have 2 minutes to testify. Please press *6 to unmute yourself, and please begin your testimony by stating your name and your neighborhood or ward.
Council members, thank you for allowing me to speak to you. My name is John Mazis. I live in the east side of St. Paul. I moved in St. Paul in 1990, and I liked it so much, my wife and I, that we purchased a house in 1999 on the east side. We'd like to stay here for the rest of our time on this earth. But as others have already testified, this is getting harder and harder. I calculated that the last 6 or 7 years, my property taxes went up to 80 or 90%. And, well, with no end in sight, I'm sure. I appreciate the fact that what we like about St. Paul is to a large degree due to the taxes we pay and the services we receive. So I'm not against taxes by no stretch of the imagination. The fact that the taxes are based on the valuation of my house is a real comfort to me, as I'm not planning to sell my house anytime soon. So this is not money in my pocket. I, just like most people, I have not received a raise in a while in my place of employment, and we have what is the inflation is 10%, and everything is high, and I wonder where is the end of it. I'm not saying you make those decisions lightly, but at the same time, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you will. I just realized that no matter what I say or others say tonight is going to be of small impact, in as much as you decide tomorrow, or you vote tomorrow. So really, to some degree, what I'm saying now is pro forma, maybe makes me feel good, but it has no impact in your decision making, and that leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Sir?
I appreciate what you do, but
Sir?
at the same time, yes?
You're out of time. You're out of time. I'm not sure if you were on at the beginning of the meeting, but we do recognize and acknowledge that that we vote on the budget tomorrow. This is a hearing as required by the state statutes. We are listening to what everybody says, and while most of our budget decisions are frankly cooked, we are always looking at our policies and our budget and our planning. And so what you're saying is not pro forma. It is just will be more applicable to our work next year than this year. We did have another public hearing in August to hear from people ahead of the budget process. So I just do want you to know that we're here intently listening, and we appreciate what you're saying very much, and it is impactful. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony, and just know that we are intently listening, and we will apply the information in our decision making. All right, thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much.
Welcome, and thanks for letting me budge in there, but it helps out our
No
staff.
problem.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, council members and council chair. My name is Richard Grossman, and I'm a resident and homeowner with my wife in Battle Creek Park. And we saw an increase here, according to your document, of about $72,000 in our valuation of our property in 1 year. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that if I put the house on the market tomorrow, we wouldn't get anywhere close to this valuation, not in this market. And I guess I'm just wondering, when did this process become basically a monopoly game? Where if you pull the strings and you have control of the dollars, that you can just sort of dictate what the value of the property is, pull it right out of your you-know-what. I'm on fixed income, as is my wife, and we're in a middle-class neighborhood. We were middle-class. We've been middle-class people, which, I'm very proud of, and I have the utmost respect for people in our situation. I guess I'm just, and I'm really kind of, I hate to be so cynical, but with all due respect to all of you, I don't think that there's anything more than there's any kind of coincidence that we're here today to air our objections and our concerns when you're voting tomorrow and it's already, like you say, a cooked deal. I think that's by design, and I'm not happy about it. I don't think any of us should be happy about it. Just remember that whatever happens here, you all elected officials are public servants and you do our bidding, okay? And I'm just fed up with billionaires and millionaires, controlling everything, and they don't pay a damn dime in taxes.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Council President, council members, my name is Leo Stephen Bohr, 2135 Eigelhart Avenue, just 5 blocks from the Rock 10 Paper Company. 15% is too much. 9% is too much. If my Social Security went up by 9%, I'd have my first party in 20 years. I'd like to suggest that the city start a hiring freeze, because I called up this morning and still no hiring freeze. And even a high school kid knows that salaries are a really big expense. So thank you.
Thank you for being here and for your testimony, sir.
Hi there. I'm Gloria Zager, and I live in the Highland Park neighborhood. And I understand that you guys have to be here by law, and I think it's frustrating to me that all these people who have testified, and there's more going to testify, and it doesn't matter. I brought all our paperwork. Our house has increased $100,000 in value in 2 years, but it doesn't matter. The thing that is frustrating to me is we sat here and listened to the presentations, and I didn't hear one word about what the fix is. How do we stop this madness year after year after year? And the problem is, it's just like he was saying, you guys are public servants, but there's no accountability anymore. You guys know you're going to win re-election, but what I'm not hearing is, this is my understanding of how it works. Because when I was on the Highland District Council, industries pay this much in taxes. People pay this much, and parks pay nothing. Industry and business is usually what is the bulk work of a property tax in a city. But what I keep seeing are businesses leaving, and then what they get replaced with is condos. So instead of industry and business, we're doing more and more and more on the backs of residents, on residential property taxes. We live right next to the Ford plant, some of the most desirable income to come available, and it got TIF financing. which in my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, means it doesn't contribute to the property tax rolls for 20 years. What is the fix? What are you guys doing specifically to stop this, to stop all this? How can you listen year after year, because this happens year after year, and still not come forward when it's re-election time and say, this is what we're doing to reduce property taxes. This is what we're doing to help all this. So that's my frustration. Give us the fix.
Mr. Tolbert?
I just want to mention something because I know people are leaving after they testify. And here in the first, I think we've had about 10 people go and I've been taking notes, but I would say at least 2/3 are challenging the value of their property, which is something that I would suggest somebody do. Just so people are aware, your valuation is set by the Ramsey County assessor. Generally on homes, I believe the policy is they do it about every 5 years, and they go around and reassess values. And it's based on the value of your property on January 2nd of the prior year. So the valuation that you got this year is January 2nd of 2021. Or for next year, it'd be January 2nd this year. I would suggest going to the Ramsey County website. I just pulled it up. They have a specific thing about appealing your property value, which is something people should do if they disagree with the valuation. And I know we have assessors in the hallway that you could talk to. The website even says this is call your assessor and talk to the person. I know they were out I talked to the assessor at my house this summer. He just happened to be walking by and I talked to him about the property and he asked basic questions of, have you invested in your house? Have you put a new bathroom in? Have you done a kitchen? But call them, they will talk to you and you can work with them one-on-one on the valuation of your assessment. If that doesn't work, you can go to the County Board of Appeal and Equalization. And if that doesn't work, you can go to do a formal property tax appeal, which goes to state tax court. That's a little more complicated process. Some people do it with lawyers, some don't. But I just want to note that for people because if it's the valuation that you think is wrong, that is dramatically affecting your tax rate. A $200,000 house pays a substantially different amount of property taxes than an $800,000 house. And so that's a really important thing to do. And I just want to point that out because a lot of people, and I suspect others, will continue to. It sounds like people got a lot of increases because the market is a substantially what in the real estate would call a hot market or a high market. And so I just want to flag that for people because they should challenge their property tax value if they think, because this will be your value going forward and it could go up again. Generally, if you have a challenge in a court, if the tax court says it, the assessor will keep it at that, what they said for quite a while. So anyways, just want to flag that for people. It's all on the Ramsey County website or the state tax court website also has a lot of information on how to do this appeal.
Ms. Prince?
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember Tolbert. I just reached out to the last speaker, Mr. Grossman, who lives in my ward, and if he truly believes that that putting his home on the market wouldn't come close to the valuation, he is in a really good position to appeal that valuation. And that's a really important part of what people need to take away from this tonight, is that a lot of this is determined at the county, and we can help you make those connections, but just always know you can call your county commissioner. But going on their website and finding out how to appeal valuation is a really, really good idea.
I think, and acknowledging too, as Mr. Tolbert said, these rates are set a year previously. So I think we're all familiar with how hot the market has been for housing. I mean, people put their house on the market and they sell it for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over asking and set a high price. The market has slowed down, so that should change next year. But right now it is reflecting a very hot market, and that is one of the reasons why the increases are so high. So the assessors are here, and we do encourage you to speak with them if the base root of your increase looks like it's from the increase of the value of your property. Thanks for holding steady. Welcome.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, my name is Susan Arndt. I live in the North End section, and actually I have a rebuttal for what you just said, because as an accountant, I have looked at property taxes that corporations have for a long time. When the property values are, when people challenge those values and the values go down, it does not affect the spending. What it does do is it affects the percentage of the tax that ends up getting applied to the homes. So while you've been saying that it's the value of the homes that are the drivers of the property tax, I would argue that that may not be true. It is the spending. There's a $107 million overspend this next year that's expected against for the city of St. Paul. I'd like to know where that money is supposed to come from. It sounds to me from what I've heard that one of the challenges or one of the solutions here has been to defer taxes or take something out of what the homeowners are spending or would have to pay in tax and put it aside and bring it back later. The deferred tax for senior citizens is not a good solution because all that does is it means that when a senior citizen finally sells their property or after they have crossed over to the eternity on the other side, their homes are sold. The first thing that happens is that the taxes and all of the interest that accrued on that is going to get paid out of the proceeds of those homes. Fine.
Hello, my name is Meg Doer. I live in the West 7th neighborhood. Thank you for listening. Appreciate the opportunity. This is the first time I've ever testified in a tax hearing like this. I generally believe in government and paying my fair share. I appreciate the quality of life that we have in St. Paul. I know there's been a lot of challenges, but I'm here because, like a lot of people have asked, is what is the end point? I own a small rental home and the house that I live in the neighborhood. I bought them as registered vacant buildings that were highly distressed. And I lived in both as I fixed them up. So I'm really invested in the city and my neighborhood, and I see it changing. And I see a lot of my neighbors, the people that make our city and our neighborhood diverse and welcoming and interesting, can't afford to live there anymore. And we can pay these taxes right now, but seeing how it has spiraled makes me wonder about the future and how much longer it will be affordable. I actually believe that I could probably sell both properties for these valuations, probably higher, because the market is still hot. In West 7th, it's very popular with investors, developers, real estate companies, predatory companies that have been driving the cost of housing up exponentially. So we've got to find a better way. I know we're talking probably way outside the scope of the St. Paul City Council, but I'm very concerned about the future of my neighborhood and the city and supporting diverse communities. And lastly, I know this is a county thing, but I noticed that my taxes went up 11% and the value went up, but my homestead exclusion went down. That's very confusing for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Faith Gill. I am originally from the state of Virginia. 4 years ago, I did not know where Minnesota was on a map. And my job brought me out here, and I'm from a very small farming community in Virginia, and I fell in love with the heart of St. Paul, and I thought these are ordinary working people, and I just felt like I had found home. So I bought a house in June of 2021, and shortly after we moved in, the taxes went up, but didn't think too much about it. And now they're going up 23.4%, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I would not be qualified to buy that house today. You know, I'm pretty hardworking, and if I have to work 3 jobs to keep my house, I will. However, you know, where I'm from in Virginia, we say don't pass the buck. So, you know, the different arms of government are supposed to work together. And I think it's safe to say that the average hard-working middle-income homeowner here in St. Paul does not have time to fight the real estate assessment office, does not have time to, you know, do an appeal or apply for a rebate program that, let's face it, most of us never qualify for. So, you know, I think what I want to say is please don't. Please do not raise these taxes because, you know, once upon a time, I worked 10 years in real estate, and these property values don't account for the fact that, hey, by the way, the city of St. Paul owns 47 Douglas Street. I live on Douglas Street. And it's a hunk of junk, y'all. I know you're going to renovate it, but you know that impacts property values. So there's no way that my house has gone up $75,000 since I bought it a little over a year ago. Secondly, I look at this and I'm like, does anybody turn on the TV? You put 5% in the budget for public safety. You know, my ADT system went off and I thought somebody was breaking in and I was terrified. 34 minutes to get there. So please, I wouldn't even be here. If you gave our public safety servants, you know, more money, turn on the TV, walk through St. Paul. What is going on?
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Roxanne Stickney. I live over here on the east side on Burn, Minnehaha. And I'm paying approximately 55.5% increase. My house back in '93 when I first bought it, single mother, was $45,000, and it's steadily gone up. Past 3 years, it's gone up 400, 400, 400. This year, it'll be $1,100 increase. And the way I look at it, my total tax burden will be $3,100. I make $31,000 at my job, take home. So you're getting 10% of my pay on top of my tax that I pay the state of Minnesota. And, you know, all the other fees, because I'm a legitimate person. I license my vehicle, not like most people. I see in the east side, it's crime-ridden. You appraised my house at $216. I work in Kona Title and Escrow, and I myself went on Redfin and found homes, 5 pages. My home is in the 51130 and 55130, excuse me. And I found a home comparable, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. I found the highest one was 180. My assessed value, not that my house is on the market yet, is 180 with Redfin. Now, I'm telling you, if Redfin can assess my home, why can't the city assess my home at a decent rate or at a rate that will possibly be market value appropriate? You're raising the taxes, the interest rates are high. Somebody's going to even think about buying my house and have to pay higher taxes in their mortgage along with higher interest rates. No, it ain't happening. You're squeezing us out. Why don't you just buy us out? Us old people, us older folks. Why don't you just buy us so you can build all these condos and all these things that, you know, wow,
Thank you.
it's just impossible. You know, you can't deal with it.
Thank you. Can you be sure to sign in?
Yeah, I already signed it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cassandra Lloyd, and I live in Frogtown. And I just want to say I agree with everyone who has gone before me to talk about the valuation, and I understand that it's done at the county, so I will be contacting the county about the Ramsey County assessor and whoever else from the county's office who can come out to my community forum and talk to us. And as well, I want to know who around this table is designated to come and talk to the community about what is going on here, because I don't understand the numbers that were put up there. I don't understand what you all have been saying, and I'm not going to understand by the end of tonight. So I need somebody from around this table, as well as the county, a county, to come and talk to me and my community and tell me, number one, why is it you're going to vote tomorrow? Why do you have to pass this after you've heard all of our protests and objections to the property? I live in Frogtown, and my house has been assessed at over $200,000 ridiculous dollars. I'm telling you this. So why do you have to approve this budget, as well as what my other peers were saying to you? I don't understand that. So again, I need you to come and help me understand this system, this existing system, and how we can work to change this system, because it was designed to work as it's working right now. And we're here telling you that it may work for you all, but it's not working for us, and we need to change it. So again, by a show of hands, who can I come to after this meeting ends so I can get your contact information so we can set up a time for you to come to my community forum? If you can't make it next month, we got one every month. So believe me, you should please be present to talk to us so that we can understand what's this going on, because I have become an expert in my neighborhood. I can tell you if it's a firecracker or a gunshot, but yet this here, that's all I got to say.
To answer your question, Councilmember Ballinger looks like he's getting out is your council member for the area. And I also agree, this is a difficult place for learning and sharing. So please do follow up with your council member. Welcome.
My name is Ray Krieger. I've been a member of I'm 71 years old. I'm on a fixed income, and I have a 43%. Having a conversation on the side, I'm going to extend my time. When we went to the council meeting, were you talking while I was talking? Yes, you were. When we went to the council meeting, we had 3 minutes. Here you can only spare us 2. I'm not hearing anybody here who got up and was able to say their whole piece. Your time is valuable, but it's not that valuable that you can't listen for that extra minute. Now, as a 50-year resident of the community, and as somebody who's on a fixed income, and somebody who has developed 60 duplexes in our neighborhood over the years, I got out of that business when my wife got sick. That's a separate issue. But I have extensive experience with property taxes. And Mr. Tolbert, while you're sitting there telling us that it's all about the property tax evaluation, that's only about 30% of it according to the tax assessor. Now, if he doesn't know his business, then I'm incorrect. But that's what he tells me. It's about 30%. The difference here is the problem that it's part of the multiplier. You guys, as you approve things along the way, that becomes part of the multiplier that multiplies against the value of the property. And if only 30% of that increase comes from the actual assessed value, then the rest of it comes from other things. Now, everybody who's gotten up here and questioned where does this come from has been stymied by the problem that this is a little hard to look at this and to understand from this where all of those pieces come from and how much a percentage they represent. Now, we had a 15% increase. No, we had a 15% increase in our overall tax or property values. A 15% increase in property values does not explain why I have a 43% increase. And it certainly doesn't explain why in 4 years I've had a 120% tax increase. And I'm waving at you. I am disrespecting your 2-minute limit.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Please be sure to sign in at the clipboard.
I am signed, and you will be hearing more from me.
Okay.
But for everybody here, anybody here who wants to help me follow up on this, my number is 776-3750. That's my house number. Call me between 9 and 5. We're going to be making a project out of irresponsibility.
All right, thank you very
And
much.
I want to also say, Jane, I appreciate your assistance. I do. I appreciate the help I've had with yeah, I wave at you, but you know something? You're not that important.
Thank you for your testimony,
Wait
sir.
and see.
Welcome.
Good evening, Amy and council members. My name is...
Could I just
Yep.
ask you to please adjust the mic, the one
Yep.
the one got bumped out of place. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Dan Gilbert. Amy, we've spoke over the years. I don't know that you know me. Every couple of years when you're campaigning, I see you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for your due diligence. It's a hard job that you're respected for. A lot of times, those of us in the room are at odds with you because we don't see results. I've been a member of St. Paul for 35 years. I think we can all attest to we get nothing for what we pay for. I would more than glad to pay the tax increases if we got what I got 35 years ago. All we do is pay. To me, it's fraud. We pay, we don't get the street maintenance, we don't get anything. The neighborhoods are changing. We don't have the police force that we need. I think we all agree with that. But what I find most disheartening is the comment that you made tonight, and it was a learning curve, that no matter what we say here tonight, it's a done deal. Now, to me, that's wrong. As a council, you guys are like doctors. You should be working for us as if we're your own family. Your first motto should be to do no harm. Truly. I mean, sincerely, look in your hearts and think about that. To say that what we say tonight makes no difference, I find that's wrong. I think you could go back and tell the mayor, you know what? I know we had an agreement, but I don't think so. We need to rehash this. And I know budget numbers are hard. But in looking at all this and where the city of St. Paul is going with properties being bought by private investment firms, neighborhoods are going downhill. It's not a good thing. And I would truly ask that you reconsider your vote tomorrow. Do something out of the box. It would be great to see that in the paper that the city council had a change of heart. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And thank you for your testimony. And I do want to say again, the truth in taxation hearing is required by the state statutes, and the timing is dictated by the state. It has to come. This hearing has to come after the property tax statements are sent out and before we vote on the budget. And this is a challenging hearing for all of us. We invite you to have conversations with us anytime, all year round. We answer our phones, we return emails. I walk around Como Lake with people. We had a hearing in August because we wanted to hear from people early. I apologize really for being frank about where this hearing comes in terms of our budget process, which we've been working on for 9 months. But we do care about what you're saying. We're hearing everything, and we're listening to you, and we're challenged by the property tax. We all own homes and pay taxes too. Our assessments have gone up. Right now, we're looking at a state legislature that over the past decade, 2 decades, has been underfunding the urban core by a ton of money, and they're sitting on a $17.5 billion surplus, and we're balancing that on the backs of our residents. So we agree. This hearing is challenging because it's late in the process. We know that, we get that, and we're required to have this hearing, but please continue to engage with us. We care what you have to say. We want to work with you, and we value your input.
So, I'm sorry, I have a question. So are you required to vote yes tomorrow then?
No, we're required to have this hearing today.
But no, I'm saying.
I heard you. I heard you.
Are you
Yeah.
required to vote yes tomorrow?
We do have to pass the budget tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, all right. Yes. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. So,
District 2, please answer my email, would you?
okay, so we're going to move on and close the public hearing. I would just look to my colleagues if there's any thoughts you'd like to add to the Truth and Taxation hearing before we adjourn. Ms. Jalali, Ms. Jalali, Ms. Jalali.
Thank you.
Sir, we have a public hearing for the community in
No,
August.
I disrespect the whole process because it happened so damn late in the game that nothing can be done.
We agree.
Shame on you. It wasn't.
Yeah, sir.
The policeman is right there.
Yeah.
Are you going to eject me, sir? I am talking as a citizen. Are you a step back?
Thank you.
I am not. Calm down. I am calm.
No, you are not. Thank you.
Calm down. Let her finish this meeting. You can have a conversation. You've been yelling at us.
You know something? You deserve it. You need it because you're not understanding.
Ms. Jalali.
Thank you. I think what I'd like to add to what's been said already is if this was not directly in result of a court ruling that is saying the way that previous administrations chose to fund our street projects in a way that ultimately did become unsustainable and was found to be illegal, there would be half as much of an increase. Right now, 7% of what's being proposed is because we actually don't have another way under the law to pay for those increases. I think that's really important and it's unfortunate, and I think that this council takes seriously the responsibility of what I heard a lot of people say, which is get us out of this cycle. I want to get us out of this cycle. I think every single one here does. It is important that we make the legislature pay their share. We are the capital city. We receive many, I feel comfortable saying thousands of residents who use our services, who increase wear and tear on our infrastructure, and who aren't currently paying into the maintenance of it. We are committed to making sure that people are paying their fair share, to making sure that our streets are funded well, that people see the return on their hard-earned taxpayer funds that they are contributing, and that we have a more sustainable plan going forward. The sign and news of a surplus is encouraging, but it's also discouraging because it reflects underfunding, to what the council president said. We have a chance going into this legislative session to start to change that, and we also have to do our part as the city to take what we heard here and find more proactive solutions. I think that this is, well, I know that this is the first time as a council member since I've been here since 2018 where there was an increase that was due to an outside factor, which is the fact that the way we pay for our streets was ruled to be, parts of it were ruled to be illegal. That is not something we can actually wave a magic wand and change. We're bound to the law like anybody else. I think that's important. I think we need to find a better way going forward. And I am appreciative of what we heard today. I am hearing the anger. I'm hearing the desire to get to a better place. I'm taking that to heart, and I just wanted to share that with folks while they're here. Thanks.
Thank you, council member. Other thoughts from my colleagues? Ms. Prince and then Ms. Ying.
Yeah, I want to say I really appreciate everybody being here, and this is a difficult subject. Property taxes are an extremely regressive way to pay for running our cities. And Minnesota is known for something called the Minnesota Miracle that was passed by a bipartisan group of legislators with Governor Anderson back in the 70s, which shifted some of the cost of running local government to the state income tax in the form of something called local government aid. And this is something that Council President Brenmoen just referenced. We have a really good opportunity going into this next session where we know we have a lot of buy-in from the leaders of the House and Senate and the governor, that we should be able to get an adjustment to the local government aid formula, which is directly tied to giving the city state funding for operations and being able to provide property tax relief to all of us in the city. So I want you to know it sounds like pie in the sky, but it's a real possibility like we haven't seen in the last 15 years. We have a real possibility to fix the aid formula. The other thing I want to mention, and this is something I had talked to Ray about before tonight's hearing, we also, as part of that local government aid formula, We also had something that was called limited market value. And if you just look it up, if you just Google limited market value in Minnesota, it will describe how the state, on a couple of occasions lasting each time for about 10 years, they created a formula so that for all of you who have talked tonight about, well, I'll just say for myself, I moved into my home in 1984 and paid $40,000 for it. I have lived in that house all this time, and it's valued now at $233,000. And when we're living in our homes and we're not seeing any benefit from the increasing property tax value, it only becomes a problem for us when it's time to pay taxes and we're taxed at a much higher valuation. I appreciate the frustration that all of you have about how we're spending money as a city is impacting how much you're paying in taxes, and that's accurate. But that increase in your market value is putting you at a different level of having to pay your share of running our city. And unfortunately, those higher valuations are particularly prominent in our lower income neighborhoods where property values were flat for many years, and now we have a very lively, strong real estate market. So this is all to say we have another policy issue we've used before in Minnesota called limited market value, and I think I am committing through the legislative process to trying to bring some attention to that concept as well, so we can really deal with this issue of property taxpayers not being taxed out of their homes. So I really appreciate everybody being here, but I do have to say the property tax system and how it works and all the people, all the different jurisdictions that are part of it make this a very complex thing for us to talk about. And I'm grateful to everybody for holding us accountable, and I know I can speak for this council when I say we are going to try to have a really good legislative session to deal with some of these issues.
And thank you so much for the quick primer on the local government aid. I think St. Paul is the most unfunded, has the most unmet need that is not funded currently by the given formula. And I agree so much that this is our opportunity to get that corrected and get those much needed state dollars, which are really coming from the urban core, to help us with some property tax relief. And we have a golden opportunity. We've been unfunded for almost 2 decades to the extent that we should be. So this is a huge opportunity. Ms. Yang and then Ms. Naker.
Thanks, Council President. I first want to say thank you to everybody who's here tonight. I know that we have people from all over the city here, so I wanted to share. I'm Nelsie Yang, so I represent Ward 6, which is in the northeastern corner of our city, and especially want to say thanks to the Eastsiders who came out tonight too. It's so wonderful to be able to meet more neighbors. Many of you shared about struggles that you're going through, like financial struggles, you're on fixed incomes, and these are experiences that we really take to heart. It really matters for you to be here. I know that many of us here, we're folks from working class families, and time is money. So I truly appreciate you being here. I want to share that something that I'm really proud about in our council here is that the council has worked really hard to lower the levy. And that's something that we committed to from the very beginning, and wanted to name that in the space here because we are working on your behalf. And your conversations and experiences today will continue to carry on with us as we have our discussions and our final vote for tomorrow. And I want to share too that one thing that I am feeling so much from the conversations today is that we are truly living in a time when the systems right now are not working for us at all. I'm hearing from everyone, we are happy to contribute to our community, but we are struggling. We are struggling because of how burdened we are by the amount of taxes that we have to pay and how drastically it has increased. It's something that I'm experiencing too. Like my parents who are refugees who are making poverty wages, and so that matters so much to me. And I want you to know that you have people on the council here who are fighting for a system that does work for us. And, we are advocating to folks at the legislature to make systemic changes because, there are certain things that we can't get done here in the council, but that we have partners at the Capitol fighting, to do for us. And so I also want to invite you all to be a part of that movement and that fight too, because it's really going to take our entire community to transform our systems and make it work for us. And we know that this entire system on, property taxes, it is not working at all, and we must change that.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. Ms. Dinker.
Thanks so much, Council President. And I want to echo my colleagues in thanking everyone for coming out tonight. I know that it is not easy to find the time, to find the parking, to find the transit, to come out in a cold evening when you have so many other things you could be doing. Your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you being here. And I also want to echo what was said earlier. The timing that state statute forces us to have this hearing is really unfortunate and doesn't reflect our needs, much like many of the other things that the state policies do, as we've been talking about, do not reflect our needs. But we are listening now, and we are listening always. And there are a couple of things that were said tonight that I want to share with you that really are resonating with me, that you've shared, that I'm going to take with me into next year. Before that, I just want to clarify, because we've said it, but I want to be really clear. We look every year for efficiencies in our budget and ways to reduce spending and ways to bring down that levy. It's not just about increasing the funding that we get from other sources, although that's important. It's also about working smarter, not harder, and it's about finding ways to bring down the total spending. And this year we did do that. We found spending that we were able to eliminate, and we were able to reduce our overall levy increase by over $1 million. So I don't want that to go unsaid. But the problem is, year over year, the amount that we can make a big difference in your taxes or in the levy by making those marginal changes is rather small. So what I'm always looking for, what I think my colleagues are always looking for, are those big levers that I heard you talking about tonight that change the system and the game over the long term. So 3 things that you mentioned tonight that again, really resonated with me. One of them is just that need to expand our tax base overall. So bringing in more of those commercial and industrial properties, our costs go up every year. The cost for things that we hear from you that you want: more public safety, more police officers. We have more police officers on the force now than we've ever had. But those costs go up year over year, and we want to pay our people well, right? Because they're doing the hard work. The way to make sure that that doesn't reflect on your property taxes, as people have said tonight, is to expand our tax base by bringing in more businesses, more industry, and so that's something I'm taking away. And the other thing is the predatory investments, out-of-state predatory real estate agents coming in, buying up properties that was mentioned tonight, that drives up home values artificially and also deprives us of our naturally occurring affordable housing. That's having a harmful effect on our neighborhoods in so many ways, and that's the kind of thing that I think we need to be looking at, again, in the long term, to keep our taxes low. So I just want to share those few things that really struck with me tonight, so you know that I've heard them and I'm going to be thinking about them into the year ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Naker. Other comments? We did close a public hearing, so we're hearing from council.
I have a specific question that's separate, but it's public safety. It's very important.
Okay, we can talk about that with your individual council member after we adjourn.
No, I'd rather ask now because I've told the police department.
Is there any other comments from my colleagues? Mr. Tolbert, no? All right, thank you. So seeing none, we have come to the end of our Truth and Taxation hearing, and we are adjourned.